They were not able to defund Obamacare, but that's not stopping some Republicans from trying to defeat the law. Their latest target, Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, who the Republican National Committee is slamming for what it calls rollout malpractice involving the Obamacare website. And now the RNC wants Sebelius fired. It's launching a petition on the RNC website to make that happen. There you see it. Joining me now is Sean Spicer, Communications Director for the Republican National Committee. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Carol. Great to see you.
Nice to see you, too. The White House says Sebelius has, quote, the full confidence of the president. But let's just say President Obama changes his mind somewhere down the line and lets her go. Then what?
Well, I think if you're going to spend 3 years and hundreds of millions of dollars having a rollout occur like this and go so poorly, then something needs to happen. What the bigger problem is that where you come in and say, so what, is if you can't handle something like this, that's a top priority, and bungle it so poorly, can you do the other things that probably are more routine? And this really calls into question the accountability and the leadership that's going on over at HHS in terms of not our taxpayer dollars, but the delivery of key services. Because, again, you had 3 years, hundreds of millions of dollars, and it took CNN 14 days to be able to log on this site. The administration likes to point and say, well, it's just like an Apple rollout. But when Apple had a bad rollout for their mapping service, they fired the guy. It was called the most significant shakeup in Apple history because Apple says that's unacceptable. And this administration says we have the full confidence of that person. That's just unbelievable. And these are supposed to be the tech wizard folks, you know, that everyone praises the Obama folks for how tech savvy they are. And they take 3 years, hundreds of millions of dollars and blow it.
No one would disagree that the rollout of these Obamacare exchanges, it's just been abysmal. But I'll ask you again, let's say Kathleen Sebelius is gone. Then what? Will Republicans sit down and come up with a better way to run the exchanges? Will they fix the problems? Then what?
You know, I guess what I'm getting at, the first thing that you have to do is, again, while obviously we're opposed to Obamacare as a whole, we'd like it defunded and go away. But the broader issue is that if you have somebody at the top of that organization that can't
let's go back to that.
The top priority.
You still want to defund it and for it to go away, and you think by asking the president then to fire Kathleen Sebelius it will happen. Haven't we just been through this?
No. They're two separate issues. One is getting rid of Obamacare. The second is it's a fundamental lack of leadership and accountability when the person at the top of the agency that's supposed to be overseeing this cannot handle it or address it after repeatedly telling you that it was going on. Again, I'll go back to what I said earlier, which is if you can't handle the #1 priority where you've been giving 3 years and hundreds of millions of dollars, how can you do the other things that go along with administering that department? It calls into question the entire ability to lead, manage that department. That's the bigger issue. It's almost separating Obamacare, Carol, and saying beyond Obamacare, they got to...
Here's the problem. The healthcare exchanges have already been set up. According to our estimates, and we've called around to a number of states asking them how many people have signed up, and we get reports that about 245,000 people have signed up through healthcare exchanges that are working in some states. It's not working in others. So what do you do with those people if suddenly those exchanges go away? What will happen?
Okay.
What's the end game?
So let's look at it. And Delaware just got their first person. Alaska has 0. Iowa has 5. So I think we can probably call
Kentucky.
them. But second of all, let's look at
Kentucky in the mix, because that's one of the states that is successful.
Right. That is also counting the Medicare enrollees. So it's not counting just the Obamacare. It's counting, they've encapsulated other programs and then counted them towards that total, which is not a fair system of counting. But let's go to these other top experts, like Robert Gibbs, who happens to be the president's former press secretary, who said, I agree, someone should be fired. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the president's choice for at the DNC. We should have had a better rollout and design. That other top healthcare expert, Wolf Blitzer from CNN, who said maybe it's not a bad idea to have a 1-year delay. I don't think that this is the RNC's call.
Sean, can we hold, because I got to take a break, but I want to continue this conversation because I think it's important for the American people. So will you stick around through the break?
I'd love to.
Okay, we'll be right back with more.
Right.
Okay, we're talking to Sean Spicer from the Republican National Committee about Obamacare. The RNC is calling for Kathleen Sebelius, the Health and Human Services Director to be fired. Thanks for sticking around, Sean. We appreciated that. So I guess I'll ask you that question again. There are many Americans, I am sure, think someone ought to be fired over these exchanges that are not working, because it's been a terrible rollout of these healthcare exchanges. So I'll just ask you again. So once someone is fired for this, what's next? What happens next?
Well, I think you put someone in who's at least accountable and shows a degree of understanding of basic management skills. I think that there is no other job that you could hold on. Can I just let me hold on. No, but Carol, again, I don't understand why it's incumbent upon us. There isn't a person, Republican or Democrat, as you just admitted. I think it's true that no one's saying she did this well. Your job, the job of a secretary is to oversee a department. When everybody from your own team to the other side is saying it's not working, you didn't do a good job, I think replacing them is something that any institution or corporation or nonprofit or television studio would say, hey, we need someone new who can at least manage things properly. So I don't think that this is sort of almost aside from Obamacare and says, if you have this poor management, I don't think it's that odd to say we need to put in a new player to run the department or the team or whatever it is. But there's no entity that would accept this level of people saying, my bad, we screwed up, spent $100-something million, only had 3 years to do it. Right. Sorry about it. Let's move forward. Okay, so the House will hold a hearing next week on these glitches. The website's problems, as you said, are well documented. But what else are we going to learn from this hearing? Besides, you know, the exchanges aren't working well, what else will Americans, some of whom like this system, what will they learn from this hearing? Well, I think we need to understand, again, to go back to very basic things. What have you been doing the last 3 years? Why, where did the money go? Why were you telling us only a few days prior to launch that all systems were go, everything was on track, this was going to run beautifully? Did you not? I mean, there's a point at either it's pure incompetence or you knew it and you didn't let it stop. But the administration went out, as you recall, probably a couple of months ago and said all big businesses and corporations are going to get a 1-year delay. So the question might be, did you guys know something was wrong ahead of time and you were just trying to mitigate it? What did you know? When did you know it? Why did all this money get spent? Were there any protocols in place to ensure that there was accountability, that things were getting done on time? But at some point, this is the bigger problem. Except the administration will not send anyone to these hearings to testify because of what we just went through. Don't you think that's odd? Right, but I think that's odd. I think that we as Americans have a right to know why we're sending so much money. And frankly, this is the bigger issue of what's wrong with Washington right now, is that there's this complacency that you can blow this kind of a rollout, this much money, and no one is accountable, no one thinks it's a problem, and everyone says we stand by. I think that's a bigger issue of what's going on in this town, in this country. I think the president did come out and say it was a problem, but and I'm just going to posture this because I don't know. But since we just went through this defund Obamacare thing with the government shutdown, and the House is now having this hearing with the underlying goal to defund Obamacare, wouldn't that be a reason why the administration would be loath to send someone to this hearing, which is important? Well, they cannot like it, but this isn't a choice. I mean, there is a system in this country. You know, Congress has oversight and has the purse strings. This isn't a private company that says, hey, it's our money and we get to make these decisions. This is the American people. This is this is how our system of democracy works. And frankly, we spent taxpayer money on it. They have a responsibility and to come up and explain to the American people and the members of Congress what happened, why it happened, what else is going on. Why are they hiding the number of enrollees? Why won't they tell us how many people actually enrolled? Why won't they? I mean, there are basic things that, frankly, we have a right to know. Absolutely, you're absolutely right about that. Sean Spicer, I wish we could continue. I really appreciate you being on this morning. Thank you so much. Thanks, Carol. Have a great weekend. You too.